Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back. All right, we are tackling the video today that I have literally been putting off since New Year's. For some reason, the idea of going through a year's worth of skincare, which I actually thought was a good idea to hang on to myself. So I knew I wanted to do this video, but the idea of just sitting down and going through a year's worth of skincare empties and then organizing that by category and then looking for trends and writing things down, that just really overwhelmed me in January. So here we are, we're in February. We're finally gonna do this video. So this is my yearly skincare empties from 2022. I decided to start keeping my skincare empties, I think it was a couple years ago. And normally I will put you guys down on the ground with the tripod and we'll just kind of fish through everything. But I wanted to make it a little bit more, I guess, easy to watch this year. So I am not making you guys sit and look at this pile of stuff down here. I decided to go ahead and do that prior to filming. I have a list of things that I would like to go over. I kind of found some trends in terms of specific products that I was using over and over again. I found trends in terms of ingredients that I really gravitated towards. Some interesting trends in terms of things that I was not loyal to and that I appeared to just kind of was willing to use whatever. So in the case of moisturizers, I don't really feel like I have a holy grail moisturizer per se, but you know, I feel like I can use a lot of different moisturizers. So yeah, I kind of want to talk about the trends and things like that. But before we get into that, you should probably know a little bit about my skin. If you are new here, I am kind of in my middle 40s. I'm 44. I still deal with oily skin, unfortunately, even in my 40s. My biggest concern are probably the size of my pores, which everybody has pores. I've actually come to accept mine a lot more than I ever have in the past. And I do deal with breakouts from time to time. Mostly seems to be related to stress when those pop up. And yeah, it's mostly just the blackheads, the oiliness, well, I would say also, and I know this is a term that you're not really supposed to be using much anymore, but you know, I do use a lot of products that have quote unquote anti-aging benefits to them. For me, it's not about anti-aging. Honestly, for me, it's just kind of slowing the process down and allowing my brain to keep up with the fact that I'm getting old. I still, deep down inside, at my core, feel like I'm 20 years old. And it's very hard for me to fully accept that I'm already in my mid-40s. That's crazy to me, but time flies, it happens, it's a thing, and I gotta keep up with it mentally. So for me, just kind of slowing that aging train down a little bit, I think allows me to do that in a much better way. So yeah, you guys, let's talk about it. Let's talk about all the skincare that I used over the course of last year. There were definitely products that I purchased and used up last year. There were products that I had in my skincare backup stash that I opened up last year and used up. There were things that I've had in my bathroom for quite some time, probably a few years, that I made a concerted effort to use up over the course of last year. I do have a very extensive skincare routine, so I do want to let you guys know that skincare is very personal, and just because the routine that I have works for me doesn't mean that it would work for you. Everybody has their own unique skin with its own unique needs, so you may not even want to or need to use all of the stuff that I use. You have to figure out what works for you, right? I think in this world of social media, YouTube, Instagram, we are definitely bombarded with this is what I do and it works so well for me, you should do the same, when in reality, it's great to find people who have a similar skin type to you and that maybe have a similar mindset in terms of how to approach skincare. But in the end, you're gonna have to try this stuff, right? Like, you're gonna have to go out, purchase these things and see if they work for you. And luckily here in the US, a lot of times we have great return policies. And if something doesn't work, you can return it to the store. And I would definitely encourage you to do that. I think that I'm guilty of buying a lot of things and then, you know, sometimes things don't work for me, but I either keep those things and I will use them up on my body, or a lot of times I've given away so much skincare to family and friends because I will have purchased something or something was sent to me by a company and it just doesn't work well for me. And so I just have this constant bag going where I put things in that I don't want to finish, but that I know could go to some good use somewhere else. And when friends come over, they pick through it periodically, and that makes me happy. I'm always happy to pass things along. So yeah, it's always really interesting to sit down and look at this stuff and sort of reevaluate. So that's what I kind of get out of keeping my skincare empties for a year. I would definitely encourage you to maybe try something similar. I don't think that you even have to do a full year. I think if you just did like 6 months and took a look at what you had, that you really truly enjoyed, things that you found yourself reaching for over and over again, brands that you repurchased, specific products that you repurchased, it's really kind of eye-opening. So today, let's talk about this pile behind me and what my findings were, because this is so scientific. All right, so I kind of broke this down by a few different categories, and not even everything necessarily fit into a category. So there were a few things here where I was just like, oh, this is like a one-off type of product, and so it just kind of went off into a pile on its own. But there were definitely trends, and I'm also going to talk about ingredients that I was noticing over and over again, that I think really are, like, when I think about it, the very best ingredients for my particular skin type. So I thought if you have a very similar skin type, maybe it would be helpful for you to maybe look into some of these ingredients. So let's go, guys. Okay, cleansers. I went through 9 cleansers, you guys. Now, that's quite a bit. The one thing that I found in looking at the cleansers is that I really am not necessarily loyal to a specific brand. I have cleansers here from Dr. Zenovia, Pharmacy. There are cleansers from Kate Somerville, City Beauty. Cleansers, I don't think are the thing that I would recommend spending the most money on, if you will, only because they're on your skin for a very limited amount of time and then you're washing them down the drain, right? Like when you're using a serum, it's usually on your face either for the entire course of a day or over the course of an evening, and so several hours. I think when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's better to maybe spend a little bit more if you are looking to splurge, but you don't have to splurge on skincare. I do think there are very good brands out there at the drugstore that are worth looking into. I myself tend to kind of favor testing out higher end skincare brands, but I don't think that that is the only like grouping of products that people should use. There's people that only use luxury skincare. There's people that use skincare that they buy at Ulta or Sephora. There's people that just use things from the drugstore, and I have seen women with great skin in all 3 of those categories. It's just depends on what your budget is, quite frankly. Depends on what you want to spend on this. So, but cleansers I am not particularly loyal to from the looks of it. And I'm just willing to use whatever. I will say when it comes to my pre-cleanse or like the first cleanse, if you will, I am very loyal to the Pharmacy Green Clean Cleansing Balm. I went through seven of these guys. Here, grab one down here. So these guys right here, the Pharmacy Green Clean Makeup Melt Away Cleansing Balm, 7 of those alone. But there were also, there was a cleansing balm in there from Wander Beauty as well, Dermalogica. But I do think that for me, the Green Clean is really kind of the perfect first cleanse, and you'll probably see a lot more of that in my empties this year as well. It works incredibly well. It never irritates my eyes, takes everything off from the SPF to, you know, the mascara, all of it gone. So love that. Then I'm kind of jumping around. I'm not necessarily going in order of application here, so just kind of bear with me. The piles, you know, they weren't super neat. So I did go through 6 bottles of the Paula's Choice Clinical 20% niacinamide treatment. That is something that I am happy to spend money on every single time that I have to, because it is one of the very best products that I've ever found in terms of the effect that it has on the overall look of my pores. Niacinamide is a game changer for me personally in terms of ingredients, because it really does help the look of my pores. So 6 bottles of just the Paula's Choice niacinamide, and while I do receive PR from Paula's Choice every once in a while, I buy this stuff from Paula's Choice myself. That was actually where I started with my skincare journey back in the day. Like, that's where I got serious, is when I started with Paula's Choice. I saw what the consistency could do for me. I saw what the particular ingredients did for me, and I've been very loyal to the brand ever since then. I obviously don't use everything Paula's Choice, but there are key things that I just will not be without. That being said, I also went through 3 bottles of the 9% the 9% BHA. There we go. I did go through 1 bottle of the 2% liquid BHA exfoliant as well. But I do kind of tend to favor the 9%, because I think that that does the best in terms of keeping my sebaceous filaments at bay, prevents blackheads from ever even forming on my face, which for me, having large pores, blackheads really are kind of the thing that I tend to deal with even more so than pimples per se. So love me some niacinamide from Paula's Choice. Love me some BHA from Paula's Choice. I really cannot speak highly enough about those 2 ingredients and those 2 specific products from that brand. I love it. There were 8 vitamin C products. I had no idea that I had such a thing for vitamin C, but apparently I did. So there are vitamin C's here from Strivectin. There's Dermalogica, Dermatology, Glow Recipe, Paula's Choice, so many. Lots of different types of vitamin C. For me, the vitamin C didn't really help with my melasma. I ended up last year just going and finally getting a prescription for hydroquinone to address the melasma on my forehead. Vitamin C never touched it. Now, I obviously used quite a bit, so vitamin C has no effect on my melasma, is what I learned last year. But I do find that I get a really nice brightening effect from vitamin C, just in terms of like overall, my skin tends to look brighter. It feels a little bit fresher, just looks nicer with vitamin C. And so I think that's why I just keep reaching for it over and over again, even though the one thing that I really wanted it to address, it could not. But it just gave my skin a really nice glow. So it's good stuff. I'll probably keep using vitamin C. There are some people who say vitamin C just doesn't do anything for them, but I don't know. I feel like I had good results. Several different types of exfoliators. These included exfoliators from Paula's Choice, Glow Recipe, Derma E, Peach and Lily. There was an exfoliator, like I had some exfoliator pads from Soam Institute. So definitely I am into exfoliation. For me, the most important exfoliator is the BHA, because that gets deeper into my pores where I have more issues. But I also like doing exfoliation on the surface as well. So anything with lactic acid, glycolic acid, things like that, I also incorporate into my routine. I don't use exfoliators every single day, but I do several times a week, and that works for me. You don't want to over exfoliate your skin, but for me, I also have to be careful, because if I don't do it often enough, my skin starts to react very quickly in terms of getting a lot of texture bumps. Blackheads will start coming on pretty quickly. it's kind of frustrating. Like skincare, there's no end game to skincare. So I feel like that's something worth keeping in mind. Like if you're doing it now and you think that like once you reach like your peak skin health, you can stop doing it, like you can't. You just have to keep going, right? And sometimes you have to switch things up, and that's something important that is worth keeping in mind as well. Okay, I went through 10 boxes of the City Beauty Hydro Masks. I love that stuff. You guys know that that was featured in pretty much almost every single Empties last year. Sorry, not last month. Pretty much in every single Empties that you saw in 2022, there was a box of the those sheet masks from City Beauty. I love them. I never pay full price for them. I always purchase them when they're on sale. They are somewhat frequently on sale for either 40 or 50% off, and that's when I choose to stock up. Speaking of City Beauty, I went through 7 bottles of the Complete Skin Restore. For 3 months last year, I was testing some different supplements from Keratin, which by the way, were also great, but the Complete Skin Restore is really, it's the one that I like notice the most changes from. And so again, those are not supplements that I pay full price for. I always wait when they're on sale, and I try to be very good about letting you guys know when the sales are so that you can get a discount on them as well, because I know a lot of you have found really great benefits in terms of your hair, your skin, and your nails from those as well. So several bottles of those. There were other masks that I finished. There was a lot of masks that I had in my skincare drawer in my bathroom that I just wanted to get through. So finally finished a mask from Strivectin, Dr. Loretta. There was an Elemis mask, a Neod mask. So finished several masks, which makes me happy. Masking, I think, is not a necessity. I think it's a nice thing that you can do for your skin as a treat, but I don't think it's a necessity. If you don't have time or if you don't have the money for masking, don't do it. I don't think it's necessary. So it's something extra that I do for my skin. I went through 4 eye creams, you guys. I am a lover of eye creams. I know you don't need them. If you have a really well formulated moisturizer, just bring that up underneath that eye area. However, if you start developing milia or you're finding that that skin is irritated, it might be because of the moisturizer that you're using. You might want to try something different, but you don't need an eye cream per se. For me, I have some that I really love. I'm still in love with the Strivectin eye cream that I talked to death in, I think it was 2020 and 2021. I was just like obsessed with it. I went through a little one last year. That was one of the Empties, but in terms of eye cream, I really find that it helps to hydrate that under eye area for me, makes it look a lot more youthful. I use eye creams both morning and night, and I find great results from them. But again, this is not something that's a necessity. But anyway, I went through 4 of those. I went through 2 bottles of the CosRx Snail Mucin. So Snail Mucin is just something that works really well at calming and soothing my skin, as does Cica. So if you have rosacea prone skin, that might be something worth looking into. I just find that it takes away any redness, it takes away any feeling of irritation for my skin, and just makes everything soft, hydrated, smooth, and not angry. So, and the CosRx Snail Mucin I think is quite affordable, and the bottle of it is, I mean, it's quite large. It'll last you a good long while. I used it most days on not only my face, but also my neck as well. And by the way, my skincare goes from here all the way down to here. So I am covering all of this like every single night. Cleanse, tone, serums, whatever treatment I'm doing, like all of it goes in this entire area. So I might be going through things a little bit faster that way. And also some of these things, I don't think I've mentioned this, some of these things I did end up using up on my body because I was tired of using them on my face, or I found that like maybe I'd kind of plateaued with those particular products, but I don't want to waste them. So I would use things up on my body as well. But the vast majority of what I have here was definitely used up just in this area here. I went through one large thing of my Tretinoin I have a lot of friends and family that like to travel to Mexico, and if you're familiar, the pharmacies in Mexico do sell Tretinoin or Retin-A over the counter. So my brother went about a year ago and brought me back a couple of tubes. It's much less expensive down there. The tubes are much larger, so I don't know, that was the route that I decided to go. So I also went through a bottle of the pharmacy 1% retinol. Now I can't use the Tretinoin, the 0.05%, that I use on my face. I cannot use it on my neck or my chest. It's too sensitive. So I went through a bottle of the pharmacy 1% retinol for my neck and a décolletage, and I think that works really well. I don't think you have to use Tretinoin. I do think for me it was a major game changer, but I think you can use over-the-counter retinols or retinaldehydes. If that's better for you, then use that stuff. I think it works just fine. Okay, let's talk about one of the more important things here. I went through 7 bottles of SPF. 5 of those alone were the Paula's Choice Super Light Daily Wrinkle Defense SPF 30. This is kind of my everyday go-to SPF. During the summer, if I'm outside a lot, obviously I need to use something that is a higher SPF, and I have a few things that I have in my little SPF thing in front of me here that work for that. But yeah, this Paula's Choice is just the one that I go through the most of. This is what I use on my face every single day. On my neck, I tend to favor SPFs that do not have a tint. This one does. I don't like getting this tint on my clothing, so I will use a non-tinted SPF on the rest of the areas. But I think SPF is the most important thing. So 7 bottles of that overall. I went through 3 bottles of the Maysama pressed serum. I love that stuff. I use that with my LED therapy every time that I do a session here. I've been doing LED in the morning, by the way. Works really well. I was for the longest time doing it at night because I found that it relaxed me, helped me sleep, but then I would get lazy about it if I was tired. So I thought I just need to start doing this in the morning. And the Maysama serum is great because it kind of helps with some of that like oxidative damage that can happen, and just kind of negates that. Plus it's just a great serum overall. I also went through a bottle of the Isntree fresh serum, as well as the Isntree green tea fresh toner. Great, more affordable alternatives to the Maysama if you're looking to get into green tea. I think antioxidants are wonderful for the skin, so definitely worth looking into there. But yeah, and then there were definitely some other categories, but I feel like they're not necessarily worth mentioning. Moisturizers, by the way, is another one where I found that I'm not necessarily loyal to any given brand. I went through a number of moisturizers, but it's just kind of like I only use them at night. During the day, I relied on, and I went through 12 boxes of the Droplet collagen capsules. That's probably my most expensive skincare expense every single month, is the Droplet. 75 bucks a month. And I've decided that going forward, I'm going to, first off, I'm going to take like a 2-week break and see if anything really changes in my skin. I'm currently on that break right now, and I don't love not using it. So I don't think I can give it up. I thought for a while, like, oh, maybe I can just, you know, like only do like a couple boxes a year or something. But no, I'm gonna keep using it. But I do think what I am gonna do is try to go to like every other or every third day, just to make that 30 count last a little bit longer. I would like to, you know, see about cutting that expense down a little bit. But if it gets to the point where I just am not liking my skin anymore, I'll just keep going with it. But the Droplet is not a necessary device. I think it's a device that works really particularly well for me. I only use the collagen capsules. I have tried some of their growth factors, and the growth factors are not anything that you're going to see drastic results from. Those are kind of a more like deeper in the skin type benefit. Great to use if you are having any treatments done, like lasers. If you're, for example, going to do a Morpheus treatment, I think that the growth factors from Droplet would be fantastic because they're going to help you heal a little bit faster. But again, not a requirement or a necessity. But I think if you're going to invest thousands into Morpheus treatments, get the most that you can out of those, right? And help the healing process along. because you're definitely a little bit red and irritated after, so it can help with that. But anyway, so let's move on to my favorite ingredients that I noticed, because I feel like this is pretty consistent in terms of what I noticed in previous years. So my favorite ingredients appear to be niacinamide, peptides, love me some peptides, great for anti-aging. Ceramides, again, great in terms of helping with the overall, you know, look of the skin in terms of keeping it younger looking, supple, hydrated, moisturized, that kind of stuff. Zinc oxide. Zinc oxide is the sun protection that I prefer. That is what is in the Paula's Choice product that I have here. Green tea. I love green tea. It's fantastic. Lactic acid. Out of all of the exfoliators that I looked through, the ingredient that was the most consistent across them was lactic acid. So again, I like AHAs, glycolic acid, mandelic acid, azelaic acid, all of that stuff. I've used those different types, but I find myself really favoring lactic acid, which is funny because I think lactic acid is supposed to be a little bit better for people with dry skin, but my oily skin loves it, and it just helps to keep the like surface texture of my skin really, really smooth. So go lactic acid. Vitamin C, again, went through a ton of vitamin C last year, great brightening effect to my skin, so I'll probably keep going down the vitamin C route. And then also, lastly, the snail mucin. Snail mucin and probably actually anything with cica in it. It just does a beautiful job of soothing my skin when it's irritated, which isn't super frequently, but you know, it happens from time to time. And yeah, so those are my go-to ingredients. It was really interesting to like look at everything and break it down. I think it helps me decide like if I need to change things up in my skincare routine. And right now, just kind of looking at everything, I don't think I need to. I feel like I'm in a good spot. I'm testing a few things out here and there in terms of, you know, slowing down with the droplet. I might test out a few different brands this year that I've never really looked into that I've been interested in trying. But for the most part, I feel like I have my skin in a really good place, and it's happy, it's healthy, it's not irritated, and yeah, I'm happy with my skin. I am no longer 20 years old. That's okay. It happens. Everybody, aging is a privilege, right? But I do think that I am aging in a way that is allowing my brain to kind of keep up with that. And yeah, I'm gonna keep going. Works for me. But again, you have to figure out what works for you. So leave me your favorite, leave me your top 3 skincare ingredients in the comments down below. Or your like top 3 products that you like repurchase over and over again. I think it's fun for people to like look through comments and see if something kind of piques their interest. I love the different conversations that start down there between people. Honestly, that makes me really happy to see that. So anyway, leave that down below in the comments. Check out the description box for links to some of my holy grails here. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. I know this was a longer one, but I feel like it's worth kind of taking that little bit of a deep dive to see, you know, what I used and what seemed to give me personally the best results. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new, I hope you'll take the time to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.